Events that happened at the Olympics, you won't believe. The Olympic Games is one of the biggest sporting events in the world, hailing thousands of elite athletes from all over the world. Inspired by the ancient Olympic Games held in Greece, today it has grown to become a sporting event with over 200 participating nations. Some moments are remembered in a good light and serve as an inspiration for the next generation, while others shock the world and become a part of history for all the wrong reasons. In today's video, we're going to explore 10 Olympic events that will surely shock you. Number 10. Thin ice. Olympic competitors are known to be fierce and often pitted against each other by the media and the world. However, this event took the phrase, beating your competition to a whole nother level. After a practice session for the 1994 U.S. Figure Skating Championship in Detroit, Nancy Kerrigan, a top figure skater at the time, got off the ice and was brutally clubbed with a baton in the right knee by an assailant who quickly fled the scene. Just a week after the assault, the identity of the assailant was found. At the time, Tonya Harding was a fellow rival and competitor to Kerrigan, and it turned out that Harding's ex-husband, Jeff Gillooly, and his friend Sean Negart had hired a hitman to attack Kerrigan. In hopes of getting Harding to make the qualifiers for the 1994 Olympics, they decided to put Kerrigan out of competition. Despite the injury, Kerrigan went on to qualify for the Olympics, earning a silver medal in the 1994 Games, less than 2 months after the assault. Harding, on the other hand, placed 8th. Harding was then stripped of her 1994 national championship title and banned from competing in U.S. figure skating. I guess you can say what goes around comes around. Number 9. Kick to the face. Being a referee may sound easy. After all you have to do is monitor a game and give your judgment, but when you are standing among hyped up temperamental players, many unexpected things can happen. A perfect example of this was seen during the 2008 Beijing Olympics. During the Taekwondo tournament, one of the athletes from Cuba made one of the biggest breaches in sportsmanship. He kicked the referee in the face. Angel Matos charged at the referee after the referee disqualified him for taking too long in an injury timeout. To add salt to the wound, Matos spit on the mat right next to the fallen judge. Before he was dragged out of there, Matos broke his toe from the blow and was immediately disqualified from the Olympics. His coach also accused the referee of game fixing after the incident, but that just made things worse. Matos, along with his coach, faced a lifetime ban by the World Taekwondo Federation, and if that wasn't enough, he was also taken into custody by the Chinese police before they shipped him off. To this day, Matos claims to regret his short-tempered decision, but well, the damage is already done. Number 8. Refugee Olympics. In 2016, when the European countries were caught in the midst of the European refugee crisis, the Olympics decided to do something to share their support. The International Olympics Committee, aka the IOC, established a refugee emergency fund worth $1.9 million to aid the integration of refugees in the sports. In the same year, the IOC announced the formation of a refugee team that would send a message of hope and inclusion to millions of refugees around the world. The team was made of 10 refugees from Syria, South Sudan, Democratic Republic of Congo, and Ethiopia. They successfully competed in Rio under the Olympic flag in 2016 and have since grown to 29 athletes who plan on participating again in the 2021 Tokyo Olympics. Did you know that in the 2016 Rio Olympics, the Olympic officials actually lost their keys to the official stadium? According to media reports, on Wednesday, just before the main event on Friday, a small crowd gathered outside at the Olympic Stadium, unable to go inside. Why? Because the officials had lost their keys and security had to open the doors with a bolt cutter just to gain access to the stadium. It's a good thing they found out before the main event on Friday, because someone could have been fired over that small mishap. Number 7. Blood in the water. When it comes to intense sports, accidents are bound to happen, but the last place you'd expect an all-out blood battle is during a water polo game. During the 1956 Melbourne Olympics, things got a little heated between the Hungarian and Russian teams, and you'll be surprised to know it was all planned. Turns out the Hungarians had a strategy to taunt and distract the Russian players during the game. The game was so rough from the start, but it was during the final moments when things got really out of control. Hungary was leading by 4-0. Enraged by this, the Russian player Valentin Prokopov struck Zador of the Hungarian team. The punch left a nasty gash near his eye and the player left the water bloodied from the blow. The Hungarian crowds were so enraged that they had to get the police involved just to avoid an all-out riot. Talk about a bloody match. Number 6. Wrongly awarded. In the Seoul Olympic Games in 1988, the most notorious example of corruption in the Olympics came to light. During the boxing finals of the Seoul Olympics, South Korean player Park Si-han and American player Roy Jones Jr. went head-to-head against each other. Park was declared the winner with a game score of 3-2, defeating Jones Jr. However, something just didn't seem right. For one, all of Park's games had the same 3 judges, even though the selection of judges was supposed to be random. Park's performance was mediocre at best, yet he still managed to keep winning without a hitch. In the final quarter match, Park's opponent even accused the judges of game fixing as he dissolved in tears over the unfair results despite having boxed better than Park. Things caught fire and got interesting when Park went against Jones Jr. for the gold. Jones Jr. landed most punches in the ring and dominated the game, but the crowd was baffled when Park Si-han was declared the winner. Even the referee glanced at Jones Jr. and said, "I can't believe they're doing this to you." According to Jones, even Park admitted to his defeat and was very unhappy during the medal ceremony. When they re-evaluated the game, they found that Jones Jr. had landed a whopping 86 punches to Si-han's 32 over the 3 rounds. But why were the officials so determined to make Park Si-han win? It was later revealed that the match was fixed. Many sources claimed that they had seen the judges take bribes from South Korean officials. Apparently, gold nuggets were handed to the German judge, while others even declared to have seen an open wallet at some point. Unsurprisingly, the Korean officials declined all the accusations. Years later, they found concrete evidence of corruption, and all 5 judges were suspended. Shortly after, 2 of them were even fired. The crowd demanded that Roy Jones Jr. should be awarded a gold medal, but unfortunately, that never happened. For the Olympics, Park Si-han was and always will be the only winner of the 1998 boxing event. Number 5. Testing positive. Sports injuries are really common. Players learn to deal with them no matter how severe things get. But during the 1988 Seoul Olympics, when Greg Louganis cracked his head on a reverse dive, he was more concerned about the safety of others rather than his own. You see, Louganis was tested HIV positive 6 months before the Olympics. He hadn't disclosed this information to anyone other than his coach. Injuries in water sports are very rare, so Louganis wasn't very concerned about it, at least not until he actually got injured. He was bleeding heavily into the water and he feared that his condition would spread to others, even if the chances of that happening were very slim. Despite that, he still didn't reveal his condition to anyone, not even to the doctor who put 5 stitches on him. He later said in an interview that he had managed to convince himself that it wouldn't harm anyone and the chlorinated water would probably cancel out the virus. The next day after the incident, he won gold, and no one found out about this until it became a scandal in 1995. The 1988 Seoul Olympics was really something else. Number 4. Go barefoot. For a runner, proper shoes are one of the most important aspects to their game. However, Abebe Bikila proved that you don't even need shoes to break a world record. Bikila was actually drafted at the final moment for the Summer Olympics in 1960. He got this opportunity when Ethiopian runner Wami Baratu injured himself playing basketball. Because the decision was so last minute, Bikila didn't have the chance to prepare for the game unlike the other players. He arrived with just 1 pair of running shoes that were worn from training. Before the competition, Bikila spent days looking for the right shoes, but apparently none suited his taste. The ones that he did like actually gave him blisters, so on the day of the marathon, Bikila decided to leave his shoes behind and run barefoot instead. Bikila ran the 26.2-mile track barefoot and finished with an astonishing time of 2 hours, 15 minutes, and 16.2 seconds, breaking the previous world record. Bikila used a clever strategy to pull this off. For the whole game, he ran at a non-competitive speed, but when the finish line was half a kilometer away, he made a run for it. He sprinted so quickly that the next finisher arrived 25 seconds behind him. This made Bikila the first African man to ever win a gold medal. Number 3. The bird shootout. Admittedly, one of the worst Olympic events was introduced in 1904, and while a few other bizarre games were introduced during that time, this one definitely takes the cake because it was downright brutal and bloody. You may have guessed it from the title. This event was live pigeon shooting. The rules were simple. Shoot as many pigeons as you could without missing. The person who shot the most pigeons without missing 2 in a row wins. Leon de London of Belgium was declared the winner and killed a whopping amount of 21 pigeons and took first place. By the end of the event, more than 300 pigeons lay dead on the field. Number 2. Attacked by a priest. During the 2004 Olympic Games, long-distance runner Vanderlei de Lima was attacked by a priest of all people. During the 2004 Olympic Games, de Lima was a secret superstar of the game. Not much was expected from his performance, but he surprised everyone when he took the lead at 8.7 miles and kept at it. He was ahead of everyone by 30 seconds and only had 2.5 miles left to run when suddenly an Irish priest named Cornelius Neo Horan attacked him and pushed him into the crowd. De Lima was shocked but quickly recovered to continue the race, but during the final moments, he lost the lead to Italy and the US, ranking 3rd and taking home a bronze medal. The media later revealed that the priest was simply looking for publicity. Apparently, this wasn't his first time. Good grief. Not long ago, he was arrested and sent to prison for 2 months for standing in the middle of the racetrack, 20 seconds, the British Grand Prix. Props to Delima for not letting it get to him and accepting the bronze medal with a big bright smile. Number 1. Dead Doves. The torch lighting ceremony is one of the main highlights of the Olympic Games. It's a ritual imperative to the success of an event and is seen as a symbol of good luck. However, the torch ceremony of the 1988 Seoul Olympics was a complete disaster. Officials of Seoul decided it would be a good idea to release doves at the same time as lighting the torch. The hope was that when the torch was lit, the doves would fly right out to signify peace among the countries. Only it didn't work out the way they thought it would. When the ceremony started, they released the doves as planned, but what they failed to consider was that some doves might not fly off as anticipated. So as a result, more than 11 doves remained in the torch cauldron. With millions of people watching, the 3 torch lighters tried their best to delay the lighting of the torch, but they couldn't hold out on the ceremony for too long. They ended up lighting the torch with the doves still inside, as the doves were burned to a crisp. What's more horrifying was that the crowd couldn't even make sense of what happened until much later. At the time, they were clapping and cheering loudly to celebrate the start of the Olympics, while also unknowingly cheering the death of these poor birds. What a tragic event. That was it for today, guys. Thanks for watching. We hope you enjoyed the video. Which of the above events was most shocking for you? Which one did you find the most ridiculous? Let us know in the comments below. And also don't forget to like the video and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you next time.